Hey everybody, Team
Hello.
Ohani here for the Remember Me picks for June 9th, 2024. By the time you're seeing this is a couple of days afterwards, I know. But we're here on location at Visions. And we've got Logan, and we switched shirts.
What's up? Right. Team Ohana repping it
And I
today.
have Visions.
Yeah.
I actually wore their shirt, and they purchased one and wore mine, and we didn't even plan it.
No, not at all. We just showed up this way. So somebody's got to change.
So, no, I'm not taking my shirt off. That'll just scare away all the viewers.
And we might get some more. Who knows?
All right, so we got some crazy picks for you guys. If you want to know what they're like, though, you're going to have to stick around. Welcome back, family and coconuts.
What's up?
So, all right, yeah, this is the first time I'm doing a tag team here. First time doing it on location, and first time I've got Logan here on the show.
Hello.
So before we even get into it, I've already talked about your story. You talk about your story.
So yeah, this is Visions Comics and Games. This is my store that I started with my dad in 2016. We took a little bit of a break for a while, came back in 2022 with a bigger location and bigger presence in general. And this is going on our third year in this spot. And so yeah, I've been into comic books my whole life. My dad got me into them at a really early age, and still here, still doing it. And that's what we like to do, is sell comic books here.
I love it, and this has become my official home store here. I love it here too, not just for the stuff they have, but the atmosphere, the people, the customers, and the staff. It's really a lot of fun. It's why comic books should be.
Yeah.
Behind us, you hear a lot of noise. It's because they have a Lorcana tournament going on right now.
Yep.
Or a league. Sorry, a league.
League. That's
League.
right. League week 1. Everybody's playing their Plutos and their Crickies.
Which we're recording this a little later than we expected because he was in it also.
Right. Yep.
And he won his battle this week, 2
I did.
to 1.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
It was a really good game too. Great competition too here the first week. I was really surprised that we had so many people show up. It's awesome to see.
Let me give you an idea how good the people here are. If any of you guys have ever been to a Magic the Gathering competition or tournament or league or anything, if you didn't know what was going on, how receptive are the players to you stopping them and asking questions? Not very. I have no idea how to play a Lorcana. I was asking questions, and there was nothing but friendliness. And this is before I pull out cameras and TV and monitors. Nobody knew I was here to record anything. I'm just some guy that's asking questions, and they're stopping their gameplay to explain it.
Right.
That's
really the vibe we try to keep in here. We're all really into this stuff, and so it's super easy to kind of get into it with anybody who comes in. But yeah, and everybody wants to teach because we just want more players.
Yeah.
We want more people to play with.
All right, so what we're going to be doing this week, if you're familiar with the channel, you know what Remember Me picks are. If you're not familiar with the channel, every week we cover the top 10, now 20 list for cover price. And a lot of the books that are on the hot list, we say, look, don't buy this. It's only spiking right now because of the news that's breaking, the trailer that dropped,
Right.
something that's happened. Wait for the price to drop back down when everybody forgets about it. Well, if everybody forgets about it, that includes you and me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Remember Me is the comic book jumping up and go, hey, remember me? I used to be hot. I'm not hot anymore.
I'm cold.
I'm affordable. You always wanted one in your collection. This is a great time for it. And most of these that we try to pick out have a potential of going back up. So even though it's come back down, they have a potential of going back up.
You can see some gains on a lot of these books, I
Right.
feel like.
As Reggie Collects used to say, don't buy when the ocean is red. Wait for it to be blue. Well, these books, we got blue ocean, not red
Yeah,
ocean.
I would say all these books are blue for sure.
So I'm going to start us off, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it,
We have
man. You
two-
got some good picks. Let's do it.
2 picks each for you YouTube members, and for Patreon members, there will be a bonus pick that only they get to see. So moving on to my first pick. I've got Submariner #1 from 1968.
Beautiful book.
This is one of the 4 books that came out with like Captain America 100, Iron Man #1, the Submariner Iron Man #1, which is a one-shot, and the Submariner itself. Submariner Iron Man is usually the lowest price book, but the Submariner is the second lowest. And it had a big spike during the second Black Panther movie because we had Submariner, Namor,
Right.
Namor, in the movie. But this book has come down quite a lot. Now, I remember
Back down to earth.
I bought a 3.0 before it even was announced for Black Panther 2. And I think I paid $200 for it. That same $200 right now would get you a 6.0.
Almost double the grade. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I see a 7.5 of a Silver Age #1. Great cover. Sold for $273 on June 2nd.
Still sub 300. I mean, these are great prices for this thing. I mean, any of these classic first appearances of classic Marvel characters, these are all screaming buys. This is a 12 center book, 1969. There's not any, they're not making any more of these anytime soon. And so I think that sub 300 on a 7.5, that seems awesome.
Well, see, this was the breakout of Marvel. Before 1968, they had a lot of their books were Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, where they would put two stories into the same book. Now, what people don't realize is that when Marvel was getting into this, during the early 60s, starting with Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and stuff like that, they did not own enough printing presses to print all these books. But they were able to lease some printing presses, enough to print 10 titles through DC. DC
wow.
actually printed the books for them.
The plot thickens.
Yes.
That's wild.
And what they were doing was they were getting enough money so they could get enough printing presses so they can make all these double titles single titles. And this was their breakthrough.
Okay. Wow. So that's some great comic history right there. I never knew that.
Now, if you are willing to, if you're somebody who says, look, I got a bigger budget, I want to drop some money on it, 9.4, you're getting a 9.2 for under
a thousand. Yeah, absolutely. And well, see, where I would be really is if I was going to drop, that kind of money for a copy like that, I'd probably be looking for a raw copy. You get under $400 for a raw book, then you send it to CGC. Maybe you hit a 9.2.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you're still hitting 800 an 8.0.
Right. Yeah, and you get your money back. Worst case scenario.
So that's my first pick is the Submariner #1.
Great book. Yeah, I think that's got a lot of legs, a lot of room to grow.
Now, one other thing about that book is the Giant Size X-Men #1. There's a lot of different books that when comic stores were really in their heyday, when there was over 10,000 comic stores in the 80s, certain books they used to put in the window.
Oh yeah.
Or on the display so people could see. And you will see the GSX-1, the Submariner #1 are very, very faded. A lot of copies sun faded. So,
well, Giant Size is a white book, but you'd see it on the characters for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd see the fading. I have a Immortal Hulk #1 where he's I think it's Immortal Hulk. Maybe it's not. It's the first issue of where it's the Red Hulk. And he's on the cover.
Yep.
That book, I guess, wherever it was stored, was set in a window like that. And so instead of it being the Red Hulk, he's the Pink Hulk for my copy.
Yes.
He's bright pink on my copy.
That's the LGBTQ variant.
Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. The Pride Month.
Pride Month.
Pride
Yes.
Month. Yeah, totally.
All right, so you ready to take us into your first pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So for my very first pick for the show, I'm going to go with a classic book. I absolutely love Spider-Man, so I was happy to pick a Spider-Man book for this one. The first Prowler, Amazing Spider-Man number 78.
I love it.
1969. There's a lot of reasons this book is hot, but obviously the primary reason is we got an incredible movie last year, and we've got another, and it ended on a great cliffhanger. So if you've seen it, you kind of know what's coming, and you know who the main character or one of the main protagonists in the movie is going to be. And so I think that jumping in on this book while it's still low, it's a really good time to do it. And it just has so many awesome things about it. It's a 15 center. It's one of the first 100 issues of Spider-Man, which I've always said the first 100 issues of Spider-Man, or Amazing Spider-Man anyway, are the very best. It's my favorite stuff. Stan Lee wrote it. You got a Romita Jr. cover. I mean, everything about this book is just killer, And even the cover itself. One thing I love about first appearances that line up, and you have the guy on the cover too, and this is one of those, and it's very cool. And kind of an unspoken, very awesome bad guy for Spider-Man. Like, I feel like the Prowler doesn't get nearly as much love as he should, sort of. But yeah, cool book.
It's interesting if you think about it. We forgot to talk about prices, but the first movie, the bad guy was Kingpin. Second movie, Spot.
Yes.
Third movie will be Spot. But the Prowler will actually be in all three.
That's right. He is. Yeah, but I just think he's going to play a big primary role in this next one.
So I'm pulling up the prices here of this book, and yeah, I'm seeing some. Oh God, an 8.0 of a Silver Age Spider-Man 216.
You know, you're getting down there to that 200 range, and I think it's probably. I think they said it's going to be another year and a half or so for the movie, so it wouldn't
God, I hope
surprise me if this book continued to kind of drop for a little while, and so I think that you might have a little bit of time to get in on a good copy. I always tend to go for raw copies, personally. I know a lot of people look at slabs, and I do too, absolutely. But, you know, if I was to buy a fine or very fine copy of this for around $150, I wouldn't be mad about it. That'd be a book I would love to have. And I think it's got some room to grow. I think that you could see some serious gains down the road on this book. And just intrinsically, you will, kind of because of the age of the book. They're not making any more of them, and everybody loves Spider-Man in the industry. And so people are going to buy this book, you know, for years to come.
Especially when people start putting together their runs of the Spider-Man 1 through 100. That's what the books are going for.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, not to mention it's a key, you know, it just kind of has all the hallmarks of a great buy.
All right, so let's get there. So, you know, there's one other thing people might not realize is that character, the Prowler, is already officially in the MCU. Because if you remember in the first Spider-Man Homecoming, that's the individual that gets webbed to his car.
Yes.
And in a deleted scene, he actually picks up his cell phone and says, yeah, hey, this is your uncle. You know, this is hey, Miles. Yeah, this is your uncle. I'm going to be late. I'm stuck to, you know, whatever.
Right. And they did the live action thing in the Spider-Man movie with Childish Gambino as the Prowler, and so I think that's got to cull some interest behind it too as well.
So, all right, so I'm going to get into my second pick.
Okay,
and this one, it hurts. It pains me to say.
This was a rough one.
Yes, this is a book that I didn't wait till now to buy. I bought back in the day, and it's dropped a lot since then. And we've got X-Men 221, first appearance of Mr. Sinister.
Beautiful cover, though.
It would have been so much nicer if Sinister was on the cover. I
Yeah.
think we had to wait another, 5 issues before he made the cover.
But any Wolverine cover's a great cover, right?
Yeah, and it's being blown by Havoc.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually one of the books that Weird Al Yankovic is holding in the White and Dirty
Really?
video. Yes.
Oh, that's a cool reference. I love that.
But we have 9.8s. One just sold for $241, and I was watching Rob's Fat Sacks of Comics. Oh, sorry, no. I do watch Rob's. I was watching JP's Budget Collecting when he was reviewing the hot list from 6 months ago, and he's reported that he's seen 9.8 selling for as low as $170.
I'm all in at that price.
Yeah, I mean,
170
as
sounds
soon as
great.
I saw it,
on a
I
9.8.
immediately went to eBay. I'm like, I'll buy a second copy at 170.
Sure.
Especially since I spent $400 on mine,
Yeah.
which is still less than the 9.8 for $929.
And I mean, at $250 at the high, I mean, I think that you could definitely reasonably see copies for right around that,
Well,
especially if I find a good deal or something.
The way that Shot in the Dark is playing. I love that song. So, Butterfly.
Good one.
Especially the way that X-Men 97 ended. A lot of people are uncertain of Mr. Sinister's future. I'm not going to get any more into that for spoiler reasons. But Mr. Sinister is too cool a character to not be in future endeavors, so I wouldn't count him out in any way, shape, or form.
No way.
But you see, 9.6 is $150. Near Mint Raws, $51.
I'm all in on those, man. If I can get this book for $50, I'm buying them. Bring them to me. Bring
And
them
I
here.
believe this is still Claremont at this run.
Yeah, and that's also going to just push the value up over time. People love Claremont.
Yeah, but he still signs quite well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just got a book signed by him, actually.
You have the potential of getting a 9.8 raw candidate, getting him to sign it, getting it graded for about $100.
Which, oh man, on slab books, that seems like a very good price point to get in on, especially
Yellow
on something
label
like this.
9.8
First Mr.
Claremont
Sinister.
First Sinister for $100.
It seems great, right? It's a screaming buy.
So yeah, I wish I'd waited on my copy. I may get a second, but this is something that I would recommend for other people. After season 1 of X-Men 97, people are looking at Wolverine, Deadpool stuff. So the X-Men stuff is a little on the back burner in people's minds. This is a good time.
A little bit, yeah.
to
I
try
would
to
say so.
Get this book.
And sometimes that's how you know, like, that this was a good buy is because you bought it at the wrong price. It's like, this is a great book. I'm gonna get it at the right price.
Pause the video while I whack this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna hit your second pick.
Okay, yeah, let's hit it. This is one of my favorite books. I've said a lot in the store that I feel like this is maybe one. Okay, I'll just go ahead and say it. This is the best modern comic book that's out right now. That's currently being published. I think that this is the best story, best bang for your buck. The writer's not going anywhere. Tynion is king, pretty much. I think it's basically the consensus now that he's pretty much the top guy in comics. And really, the only writer and story that comes close to me, it's also a currently published book, but it's much slower, is Saga. And I think that both of these books hold a lot of similarities in the fact that they're both just modern keys that are going to go up intrinsically over time because they're good. You saw it in the 90s with Sandman. You saw it with Preacher. I think these books and you saw it even more recently with a book like Walking Dead. And so I think this is the one that fits the bill next, right? Like everybody knows it's coming. And so
Say it, I'll click it.
the show is it's everybody knows what it is. It's Something's Killing the Children, #1.
Yes, absolutely. With that iconic, very homage cover.
Yeah. It's already homaged. It's only a few years old, and there's 10?
2019. It's already 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's crazy how fast time goes by.
Well, in today's market, the fact that it is a new title from not a Marvel DC, and 5 years later, they're still not only making it, but offshoots of the same story, shows you how good
That's
it is.
right. The universe is kind of starting to spawn for this book. He's writing other books. What was one interesting thing to me about this was he's created this universe, and now he's started to hand some of those books off to other writers to write and create within the universe. And so you just have this whole thing just expanding like rapidly. Not to mention Tynion is starting his own media company.
Okay.
And so you would think that and this would definitely line up. I know it's already been slotted for Netflix, and I think the writers got hired last year, 2023, for this book. And so you're going to see, I think that once people see how cool the story is, this book's just going to continue to grow.
So let's look at some prices here.
Yeah. So I want to say I paid $500 for a 9.8, which is kind of right where it's hanging in at, right?
Well, it hit its high watermark in May of 2021, where it hit 1,500.
Yes. And the book, that was another thing about this book, was it came out and it instantly spiked. It took a little while. I'd say right around issue 4 or 5, people caught on to this is amazing, and everybody bought up all the issues, and they went to the moon, right? And so they're still high. You're still going to pay $500 for a copy of this thing, but you've already got sales data that it's sold for higher, and they haven't even done the show yet. It also harkens to like what it reminds me the most of is The Walking Dead. And if you look back at The Walking Dead all the way up until like issue 75, like those books retained value, and the #1 just kind of continued to go up and up and up and up over time. And so this just has a lot of those similar things on it. I know for a lot of comic guys and collectors, this is just the one to buy. Like this is one you want to be in on. And so I wanted to bring it up on my first appearance here, just because I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't softened on that view, and I'm still buying them. And so once this show comes out, man, I think we're going to see some serious stuff.
So in spirit of us spending other people's money, what would you recommend for somebody to invest in right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm going for near mint copies of this book. I'm probably looking to buy them raw in that $400 range. Maybe try to get a deal for $350. Who knows? And then looking to get them graded. Send them off and hope that you hit that really sweet 9.8. you know.
I mean, I see a 9.0 to 9.4 just sold in April for 125.
125? Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm going to assume that
all
was closer
day.
to the 9.0 range,
Yeah.
which a 9.0 slab just sold for 75.
Now that is wild to me. I'm all over these books at these prices, man. Because I don't know. I guess I just see it as more of a long-term thing, and like market trends are kind of what they are. But like if you look at the content, like based on the content, it's one of the tippy top right now.
Well, it's just like I did a bad job of buying my X-Men 221 at the wrong time. I did get lucky with this. I bought a 9.8 slab as it was starting to take off, and I only paid $300.
Right. It all evens out in the end, right?
Yes.
Like that's what matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say overall, though, I think I have slightly more losers than winners when it comes to, especially with today's market. But
If you're in it, it goes that way, right?
it's comics, man. I'm
Yeah.
here to have fun. So
You
I mean,
love 'em.
If
That's
it was
why you buy
stocks or something like that, or then I feel bad. But
yeah.
even if a book tanks, I can still read it.
Sure, absolutely. And if you're looking for reader copies, there's nothing wrong with buying a 7.5. A 7.5 can present as beautifully as a 9.8. I mean, especially based on the age. If you have an old 7.5, that book has character. Every line on that book has a story to tell, sort of. And so I don't discount good books just because they're a little dinged up, man.
And look, if you just want to read something that's killing the children, there's enough multiple printings of each book that you can do that.
Yeah.
But
Go buy the trade.
I was going to say the trade paperback,
$12.
the trade hardcover. I gave that away in the sleeve to somebody for Christmas who never heard of it. She read it and loved it.
Yeah.
And it's issues 1 through 15.
Yeah, that's another thing I really like about Something's Killing and Saga. I brought up Saga earlier. Everyone I've recommended this book to read has really enjoyed it. I haven't gotten any negative feedback on it based on what I've kind of seen. And so that's another thing. It's just a great story, you know. If you're into reading comic books, this is a great book.
So we've got 2 more picks coming for Patreon members, but for YouTube members, let's say sorry. This is the end of the line for you guys. Unless you happen to join Patreon at Patreon/Timo Honda, you'll find the link in the description down below. Otherwise, though, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and those notifications so you know when more videos are dropping. Patreon, stick around. We still got one more pick for you.
Got a secret one.
Until we see you, though, in the next video.
Mahalo.
Ooh, I like that. I am Venom.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. All right, Coconuts. We got one more pick for each of you guys. And, of course, for you guys, our family, we saved the best. We're what we consider to be the best picks.
Yeah, these are the tippy top.
Yes. So I'm going to get right into my pick. This is a book that is hot on my radar. I'm looking for one because I've always wanted one. And the lower grade ones are really affordable, depending upon your wallet, okay? So if I pick a book that is out of your price range, I apologize. But
It's one of my favorites, too. I'd love to have a copy of this book. I've never had one either.
I'm working on getting it. I'm talking about Spider-Man number 129, first appearance of the Punisher.
Love it.
Yeah. So
It's great.
see, we've got some really good prices here coming up. You got, entry raws are going for $500-$600, but more importantly, though, you can get. I would go for one of the graded books because you don't want to get a low grade and then send it off for grading and it comes back a purple label.
Oh my gosh, you
Or
get hit with color
green
touch
you know,
or something.
Yeah, or trimmed or something.
Yeah.
That you couldn't tell by looking at it.
Sometimes that stuff's hard, especially on the older books. That's where you're going to see it for sure.
And unless you sit down and you know the book and you read the whole thing, you might not know it's missing a wrap.
Yeah. Page. I got hit on a first appearance of a Rhino that was missing a page 11. I had simply never cracked the book. I had it for years, and it sat in its sleeve. I went to send it off, and it came back with the green label, missing page 11. Oh, no.
I think the only thing we do for old books is like, yeah, it's got the moral value stamp, send it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You look for the stamp.
But a 2.0 graded, and I'm assuming it's a blue label, it's sold for $456, under $500 for a first appearance of Punisher.
Yeah. I'm all in on something like that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to go up to, if you can go up to $1,000, you're looking at a 5.0.
Which is a great copy.
Yeah.
You know,
And you
it
get
might
some
have a
5.0s
roll
that-
in it or a crease to the spot, but you're still going to have a very pretty book at a 5.0.
A 5.0, you might get something with like the back cover looks horrible, but the front cover looks great.
Yeah, sure. Right.
And I would rather have that, and I'll just never turn it around.
Yeah. When buying, that's kind of always my first rule of thumb is look at the face. Does it look pretty? Does it present well? And then kind of go from there. And if it presents well, that's
Well, like I've got
first
a DD
step.
number 1 that is a 0.5, but if I just like held it up, let you look at it for a second, put it back down without you seeing a grade, you would think 4.0.
Oh wow!
So-
Just because the interior's wrecked or something.
When I turn it around, then you can see where they put the hole punches to put it in the binder.
Right.
But they're so perfectly placed on the front cover, you don't notice them.
Sure. Books can be tricky, man, especially
Yeah.
with grading.
Just buy what you like, what you want to.
Absolutely. And this is just a very good book. It's got all those hallmark key things about it, It's
Yeah.
a beautiful cover, early Spider-Man stories. It's got first appearance, Andy's on the cover. Gotta love that.
Just like the Prowler book.
Yes. And this is classic, too. There's so many people that love The Punisher. This book is always going to have legs. It's always going to have room to grow, and they're not making any more.
So I mean, we do know that John Bernthal has signed on for the new Daredevil series that's going to be on MCU.
Yeah.
On Marvel. And in an interview, they asked him before he signed on, would you ever reprise the role of Punisher again? And he said that he would only consider doing it if Marvel/Disney was true to the way Netflix portrayed the character, which was brutal but perfect.
Definitely.
The fact that he signed on, either he has compromised his morals, which I don't think he did.
No way.
Or they offered
Not
him
that
a
guy.
crap ton of money, which I don't
might
think they did. I think that they are having a storyline that John Bernthal read and went, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
if that's the case, then so am I.
And can you really picture anybody else in that role? Like, I can't. Not right now.
Look, I didn't like Thomas Jane. I didn't like any of the other. They just didn't feel like the Punisher to me.
He is the Punisher, for
And
sure.
nothing against Thomas Jane, but when I saw the John Bernthal series on Netflix, I'm like, this is the way I always imagined the Punisher to be in real life.
Right. He just nails it. You wouldn't want anybody else.
Yeah, it's like I don't want anybody playing God but Morgan Freeman.
Right. Yeah, that's who plays God. It's
Yes.
Morgan Freeman.
As a
Everybody
teacher.
knows that.
Oh man, I loved him in that role. Anyway, so
He's great.
you've got a number 1 pick here.
I got a number 1. So I'll just come out and say it.
Do it.
Spawn number 1.
Okay, this is always on the hot list.
It is.
It's like every other week.
You
it's
see
on the
it
hot
come
list.
on and off, and there's always buzz about this book. But there's a lot of reasons why I love this book.
But there's got to be something that made you decide to make this your number 1 pick.
There was something very specific that made me decide. So, about 3 weeks ago, I was invited to a retailers only meeting with the one and only Todd McFarlane.
Oh, I'm in the presence of greatness.
Well, it was the first time anything like that had ever happened, so it was really, really cool to like get to meet him in a Zoom meeting or whatever. And he was very, very talkative about Spawn, and which he always is, right? That's his baby. He always
I was
loves
drinking.
it.
You said it fast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I knew it was coming. But he made mention of the fact that there's some very big news that he's waiting to drop within the next few months regarding this book. And so I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I think it might have to do with there is a big movie in the works for Spawn. I think that's already kind of in the rumor mill. And he didn't confirm it, but he kind of confirmed it, that was going to be happening. And he said, look for an announcement sometime between San Diego and New York, meaning San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. And so sometime between July and October, I would expect that there's a big announcement about Spawn in particular. And so I'd say, first of all, this book was already on my to-buy list. I think it was just great spec anyway, just based on all Todd McFarlane stuff. If you look at almost any of the Amazing Spider-Man stuff or the Batman cover he did or the Incredible Hulk, it's all just gone up over the last 10 years steadily. And so Spawn has always stood out to me as a book that was affordable. You could always get in on this copy because it was made in the 90s. They printed 8 bajillion of them. I remember there's a story on the show Comic Book Men where Walt Flanagan is talking about how he has a garage filled with long boxes filled with Spawn number 1. That's how many they were making back in the day. But this has also been 35 years since that point. And so this book's starting to dry up. It's going to get hot again. And I think that if you were to see a guy like a Jamie Foxx or a big name celebrity that played this role, that would even kind of drive the interest and value more. You open yourself up to an even bigger market. So I already like Spawn at sub $30. It's like, why not? It's a classic book.
Let's look at some of these prices.
It's you know, it's gonna just kind of hang around there. I remember when this was a $10 book, and I've just kind of watched it grow intrinsically with no news or buzz. You know, it's good. It's Todd McFarlane.
Well, this book has been fluctuating in a 9.8 range. Sometimes when like new toys drop or whatnot, that drives up to like 180,
Sure.
190.
Yeah.
And then it goes back down to like 120, 130. I don't think you're going to see the 120, 130 prices anymore.
Right.
I think the fact you're seeing 150 now, 140,
Yes.
150, is just because inflation is caught up with this book.
Yeah, it has. And that's a great point. Like I said earlier, it's been 34 years. The economy's a lot different than it was back then.
Right.
But you're also starting to see this premium sort of appear on these very, very desirable 9.9 selling for almost
Yeah.
$4,000. That's
Look-
pretty
look-
impressive.
Look at the highest price that was paid back in 2021.
Yeah.
Somebody paid 10 grand for a 9.9.
And what's even more interesting about that is there's probably a few 9.9s out there. This book was printed a lot. There were a lot of copies, and they all kind of got stored well. There was also infrastructure built around the industry where the bags and the boards existed, and people were actively collecting comic books. And so you're going to see a lot of really good copies of this book pop up over time.
I think now that CGC is getting a little bit more lenient with their requirements for 9.9, you're going to find people that are finding a 9.8 that looks immaculate, cracking it and resubmitting it for trying to get
Oh,
one.
sure. And I've heard of things like that since I've been doing this, and that's just going to happen all the time, especially because grading is so subjective. It could have graded a 9.8 on one day and a 9.9 on the next, you know, and they
Yeah.
use a conglomerate. They use an aggregate, of 3 different graders. And so if those guys' opinions all jive on the same day, you could see the difference between a 9.8 and a 9.9. It's just subjective, you
I
know.
wonder if 2 out of the 3 say 9.9 and one says 9.8, which way does it go?
I would assume that it would go towards the 9.9, the 2 out of the 3. I don't know if they would opt for the lower grade just because one person said it. I would kind of opt for the more opinions that agreed on the book. But I don't know. I'm not a grader for CGC.
So the grading
but
is
that's
done
what I
by
would
Minority Report.
think. Yeah, I thought right.
All right, so that is your number 1 pick, and
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not going to say no to it because
Thank you,
I
Richard.
personally, I not that long ago got my copy of Spawn number 1, and in a 9.8, and I think it's kind of almost like an initiation to when you start making your collection. That's one of those books.
It
that
is.
It's affordable enough that you can make it one of your early grails, and everybody wants to have one in
Totally,
their collection.
totally.
It's like being part of the club.
That's a great point.
I got into a low grade recently, Spider-Man 300. I joined another club. So,
That's a good club, too.
all right, so that is our Remember Me Picks Patreon bonus edition. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for supporting the channel every way that you can. And we're going to wrap this up so I can start the editing process.
All righty.
Is there anything else you want to add, sir?
I don't think so. I'm not off the top of my head. This was awesome. This was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again.
I just want to end this right now because I want to go catch some more of the leagues over there.
There you go. Yeah, play some more
learn some more
Lorcana.
on how to play Lorcana.
Yeah, totally.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Until we see you in the next video.
Thanks. Mahalo.
Hello.